Welcome to another Uncle Boogie production. Today, we're shining a spotlight on Makpia Luta, more widely known as Chief Redcloud, a titan of Lakota leadership whose name is synonymous with resilience against the tide of American expansion. Prepare to embark on a journey through his life, marked by battles both physical and diplomatic, as we seek to understand the man behind the legend. The exact year of Redcloud's birth remains shrouded in the mists of time, his people favoring the spoken word over the written. However, it is widely accepted that he was born between 1820 and 1822, near the confluence of the Platte River in what is now Garden County, Nebraska. His Lakota name, Makpia Luta, resonates with symbolic significance. Some suggest it was inspired by the fiery sunsets that painted the Nebraska sky, while others whispered that a blood-red meteor streaked across the heavens at his birth, an omen foretelling the fire he would bring to the battlefield. His mother, Walks as she thinks, belonged to the Oglala Lakota, while his father, Lone Man, held a position of respect among the Brule Lakota. The 1820s on the Great Plains were a time of both breathtaking beauty and profound challenge. Buffalo roamed freely, and the Lakota lived in harmony with the cycles of the earth. But the tranquility of this existence was soon to be disrupted by the relentless advance of white settlers and the expansionist ambitions of the United States. Around 1825, tragedy struck young Redcloud. Both of his parents died suddenly, the exact circumstances remaining unclear. Some believe they succumbed to diseases introduced by white traders, while others maintain they fell victim to an intertribal feud. Regardless of the cause, the Redcloud was left an orphan in a world that demanded strength and resilience. According to Lakota custom, children belonged to their mother's clan, where one of the mother's brothers took on the role of a second father. Because of this tradition, Redcloud was raised by his maternal uncle, Old Chief Smoke, a leader of the Bad Faces Warrior Society. Under his Uncle Smoke's tutelage, Redcloud underwent rigorous training in horsemanship, hunting, and combat. By the age of 6, Redcloud received a spirited colt from his father's herd and mastered riding without saddle or bridle. By 9, he rode on buffalo hunts, braving the ever-present danger of stampedes or goring. One particular account describes how he narrowly escaped a charging bull, an event he later said hardened his nerve like tempered steel. At 12, Redcloud was raiding rival tribes. He honed his skills in intertribal skirmishes against the Pawnee, Crow, Ute, and Shoshone, learning the value of counting coup, a Lakota tradition of touching an enemy without killing them. This was to demonstration, bravery, and skill. At 13, Redcloud joined his first war party against the Utes. During the raid, he stumbled into a cave and came face to face with a Ute hunter. Hearts pounding, they sized each other up, but instead of bloodshed, they parted ways, a rare moment of peace that remained with him through the years. As Redcloud matured, he proved his prowess in intertribal conflicts. His first documented act of vengeance occurred around the age of 16, in 1837 or 1838, during a raid in retaliation for an attack on his family or band. Redcloud plunged a spear into a Pawnee warrior, getting his first war honor. The Great Plains was a brutal training ground, and Redcloud proved a quick study. By his mid-20s, around 1848-1850, a pivotal event solidified his leadership. He avenged the deaths of his father and brother by killing Bear Bull, a rival Oglala leader, and Bear Bull's son during a dispute near Fort Laramie. This act, while controversial, elevated Redcloud to chief of the Bad Faces band. Around the early 1850s, Redcloud, now a towering figure of over 6 feet tall, with a booming voice and piercing eyes, married Pretty Owl, also known as Mary Good Road, a woman of strong character who remained his lifelong partner. They had 6 children, 3 sons, including Jackson Redcloud, and 3 daughters, whose descendants continue to carry his legacy even today. By the 1860s, the Lakota faced growing pressure from American settlers and the U.S. government. The discovery of gold in Montana in 1862 spurred the creation of the Boszeman Trail, a route from Fort Laramie, Wyoming, to the Montana gold fields. The trail cut through the heart of Lakota hunting grounds in the Powder River country, violating the 1851 Treaty of Fort Laramie, which had promised this land to the Sioux. The U.S. Army began building forts along the trail. Fort Reno, Fort Phil Kearny, and Fort C.F. Smith were built to protect travelers, this only escalating tensions further. Redcloud, now a seasoned leader in his 40s, refused to tolerate this intrusion. He rejected a proposed treaty in 1866 that would allow the trail's use. He walked out of negotiations at Fort Laramie when he realized the U.S. intended to proceed with the trail regardless. He allied with the Northern Cheyenne and Arapaho, forming a coalition of up to 3,000 warriors, and launched a guerrilla warfare campaign to shut down the trail. On December 21, 1866 was the first of many battles. The Federman Fight, known to the U.S. Army as the Federman Massacre and to the Lakota as the Battle of the 100 Slain, remains one of the most significant events of Redcloud's war and is a testament to Redcloud's strategic prowess. In December 1866, near Fort Phil Kearny in present-day Wyoming, Redcloud orchestrated a meticulously planned trap. Exploiting Captain William J. Fetterman's arrogance and disregard for orders, Redcloud sent a small group of warriors, which included Crazy Horse, to feign an attack on woodcutters. As Fetterman led a command of 81 soldiers, 49 infantry, and 32 cavalry in pursuit, Redcloud's forces, estimated to number between 1,000 and 2,000 warriors, lay in wait. Ignoring orders not to cross Lodge Trail Ridge, Fetterman's troops blundered into the ambush, and within less than 30 minutes, Redcloud's warriors annihilated Fetterman's command. All 81 soldiers perished, and their bodies were mutilated, reflecting Lakota warrior customs. The Federman Fight proved to be the U.S. Army's worst defeat on the Great Plains until the Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876, and solidified Redcloud's reputation as a formidable military strategist. Then on August 1, 1867, the Hayfield Fight, occurring near Fort C.F. Smith in Montana, Redcloud's warriors launched a daring attack on a detachment of 19 soldiers and 6 civilians engaged in cutting hay, a vital resource for the fort's livestock. Though armed with new repeating rifles that granted them a significant technological advantage, the defenders found themselves pinned down in a corralled position, fighting off hundreds of Lakota warriors for about an hour until reinforcements could arrive. The U.S. forces sustained minimal losses, 3 deaths, while native casualties remained unknown. This engagement, while not a major victory for the Lakota, underscored their relentless persistence in the face of superior U.S. firepower, demonstrating that they would continue to resist the invasion of their lands despite the odds. The Hayfield Fight highlights a crucial element of Redcloud's strategy: to harass and weaken the U.S. Army through attrition, demonstrating that the Lakota would not surrender their ancestral lands without a fight. One day later, on August 2, 1867, near Fort Phil Kearny, the Wagon Box Fight serves as a testament to the Lakota's determination to disrupt U.S. operations along the Boszeman Trail, despite not achieving a clear-cut victory. Estimates suggest a force of approximately 800 to 1,000 warriors, potentially under the command of Redcloud himself, launched an assault on a group of 32 U.S. soldiers and civilians tasked with gathering wood for the fort. Displaying ingenuity in the face of overwhelming numbers, the defenders strategically used overturned wagon boxes as a makeshift fortification, providing crucial cover. Armed with Springfield breech-loading rifles, a relatively new and advanced weapon at the time, they unleashed a withering fire that repelled wave after wave of attackers. While U.S. losses were minimal, with only 6 killed and 2 wounded, estimates of Native American casualties vary, ranging from 40 to as high as 60. The Lakota forces were ultimately unable to overrun the woodcutters' fortified position. Redcloud's relentless campaign, harassing supply lines, ambushing patrols, and isolating forts, made the Boszeman Trail untenable for the U.S. Army. According to the court filing, Redcloud led key battles such as the Federman Fight and the Hayfield Fight, lead to the U.S. government suing for peace. By 1868, the U.S. government sought peace. The Treaty of Fort Laramie, signed on November 6, 1868, was a triumph for Redcloud. The U.S. abandoned all forts along the Boszeman Trail, which were then burned by the Cheyenne. The treaty established the Great Sioux Reservation, encompassing present-day western South Dakota, including the Black Hills, Powder River Country, also parts of Wyoming and Montana, designated as unceded Indian territory for hunting. Redcloud signed the treaty only after confirming the fort's abandonment. This treaty was a victory, marking the only time a Native American leader had forced the U.S. government to concede defeat in a war and negotiate on Native American terms. Following the Treaty of Fort Laramie in 1868, Redcloud recognized the shifting dynamics of power and the unsustainability of continued armed conflict against the growing military might of the United States. He transitioned into a role of statesmanship, employing diplomacy as a means to safeguard the interests of the Lakota people. This new path led him to Washington, D.C. in 1870 at the invitation of President Ulysses S. Grant, marking his first journey to the nation's capital. Accompanied by a delegation of 20 Lakota leaders, Redcloud met with Grant and toured the city, expressing both awe at its grandeur and steadfast determination in his demands. On June 16, 1870, he delivered a powerful speech at Cooper Union in New York City, addressing a large crowd with eloquence and highlighting the broken promises of the U.S. government, stating, "We are melting like snow on the hillside, while you are growing like spring grass." Despite his best efforts to secure a lasting peace, the U.S. government undermined the 1868 Treaty of Fort Laramie through a series of calculated actions. The discovery of gold in the Black Hills in 1874 triggered the Black Hills Gold Rush, prompting the U.S. to disregard treaty obligations and permit settlers to encroach upon Lakota territory. This blatant violation sparked the Great Sioux War of 1876-1877, in which Redcloud declined to participate alongside Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse, believing that diplomacy offered a more viable path for his people's long-term survival. Ultimately, the U.S. seized the Black Hills in 1877 and further fragmented the Great Sioux Reservation through the Dawes Act of 1887 and the Sioux Agreement of 1889. Redcloud vehemently opposed these measures, but he was powerless to prevent their implementation, as coerced signatures from other leaders sealed the fate of the Lakota lands. Over the ensuing 3 decades, Redcloud made at least 7 return visits to Washington, meeting with 5 presidents, Grant, Hayes, Garfield, Arthur, and Cleveland, to protest corruption by Indian agents, demand treaty enforcement, and seek aid for his people. In 1884, Redcloud converted to Catholicism, taking the names John Redcloud, and his wife took the name Mary. He watched as his people suffered under broken treaties, but never stopped advocating for justice and fighting corruption on the reservation. On December 10, 1909, Redcloud died on the Pine Ridge Reservation, somewhere between the age of 86 to 89, almost entirely blind and having outlived Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull. In old age, shortly before his death, he reflected, "They made us many promises, more than I can remember. But they kept but one. They promised to take our land, and they took it," encapsulating his lifelong struggle. Redcloud's legacy includes being the most photographed American Indian of the 19th century. He was honored with a 10-cent Great American Series postage stamp and inducted into the Nebraska Hall of Fame in 2000. The town of Redcloud, Nebraska, named in his honor in 1871, and the Redcloud Indian School, now Makpia Luta, reflect his enduring impact. Chief Redcloud was a warrior, diplomat, and a symbol of resistance. Chief Redcloud's life was a testament to courage, resilience, and unwavering commitment to his people. His story serves as a poignant reminder of the struggles faced by Native Americans in the face of westward expansion. Thank you for watching a Uncle Boogie production on this exploration of history and the life of Chief Redcloud. If you enjoyed this documentary, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more captivating stories from our history.